We were left with just our family. We had a large, we're a very close family.
There were among an estimated 70,000 British war brides during World War II.
Yes.
And you were one of them. And we'd just love to hear your story about how you know, where you lived in Great Britain, how you met your husband-to-be.
Yes. I grew up in Woodbridge, and that's a town about 70 miles from London. It's a lovely, lovely town. It's bigger than Great Barrington. I didn't appreciate it when I was young. It was just a place I lived. But when I went back each time, I realized what a lovely town it was.
That's right.
But it's unique, and I liked it every time I went home. And I was 14 when war broke out, 1939, and during the war, of course, we didn't travel. You know, we just didn't travel anywhere. I did go to London once. I didn't let my mother know that I was older then, but that was it. And when I arrived in Copake in March, it was very bleak, and the mountains looked very new. But then spring came, and everything looked lovely, you know, and I gradually got to like Copake very much, and I realized the beauty here. It was a different kind of beauty than ours, you know, because we don't have mountains where we live. We have hills, but we have a river, a lovely river, and we walked everywhere.
Was there thatching on the roofs?
Yes, I went to a school that was thatch roof.
Really?
It's a lovely school. It was a church school, and there was about 120 pupils, and the church is still standing, and the thatch roof is still on. I had two brothers in the Navy who went to the war, and one sister in the West. And it was a sad time in some ways, you know, that you didn't know where they were or where they were being bombed. And my sister was in Coventry when it was bombed heavily. And of course, when they came home, it was a lot rejoicing.
Yes.
Woodbridge, as I said, was very lucky. Some days we didn't even know there was a war on, but then we did have many days with sirens and rays. You should go into shelters, you know, and whatnot. And when the German planes were over us, you know, that was frightening. But they didn't want anything in Woodbridge. But there was one bomb dropped, and that we were in the movies. We call it the Picture House in England, and it shook. The movie, but it was dropped about as far as that house from the movies from where we were, but fortunately it dropped in a river, and the river was muddy. It had a muddy bank, so it didn't go off, but the people who diffused it, and they were very brave. 1940 and 1941 were terrible. Yeah. The people in London, I don't know how they didn't survive, a lot of them. We had air raids, as I said, and blackout every night, and if you had a light show, you got a fine. So you made sure that we had special black, you know, stuff to put over, and we used to come down. We had an upstairs bedroom, and we used to come down, and we had a mattress under the kitchen table. It was a big table, you know, big square table, and the mattress was under there for us to sleep. You know, we couldn't sleep, but you could just rest a while. You work a long time sometimes, because you used to wait for the all clear to go. And I was walking home one night, and it was very, very dark. Even though you had walked all your life to your home, you could hardly find your way. It was it was very dark in England, and very light. All the Germans were over us, and I was walking home, and the whole sky lit up with fairy lights.
Oh my!
And although I was happy to see it home, I wasn't happy to see the Germans. But they didn't want anything in Woodbridge. We were surrounded with aerodromes, airfields, and that's what they wanted to bomb. Of course, they wanted to bomb the planes that were there, And there's one thing I particularly remember about the war. They sunk our wonderful, our pride of the Navy, the Norfolk.
Oh, yes.
And Hitler said, all ships hunt the Bismarck. It was the Bismarck that sunk, and the Bismarck was the pride of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And it was several days before they found it.
Mm-hmm.
And they did find it, and they did sink it. But we've heard of the Spitfire.
Yes.
It was a little plane, and it used to go in and out all the time.
Right.
And that sunk the big Bismarck. Dunkirk was a night that I remember. I was quite young, but we were all at home, and we didn't know why. We didn't know what was happening, and we didn't know, but I think it was a couple of days when we knew. And boats went even from, we have a lovely river, it goes into the sea. Our river, I used to swim in, it's salt water, it comes in from the sea. We had boats go from the river, and they went from everywhere. And of course many were saved, and that was a very happy time, but there was many left behind too. Many. So, but Churchill was great in that instance. He wouldn't give up.
No.
Everyone wanted the people in the parliament wanted to give up, and said that he was crazy or something. They said that talk won't bring them home, and he wouldn't give up. And if it hadn't been for Churchill, I don't know what would have happened. That was our whole army there.
Yes.
We would have lost our whole army.
How did you meet your husband?
How did I meet him? Well, we gave dances for the troops to entertain them. And we used to go on our own, more or less, you meet a lot, and then they'd ask you to dance, and my husband was there, and we met. We didn't get right away, and then he wasn't stationed far from where I lived, and one day we invited him in for some sandwiches, and little did he know he was eating our last tomato. We didn't get many tomatoes. We had to make them last, and I thought, you don't realize what you're doing. And chocolate, and I got bars of chocolate from Tom and things, and I used to put it out. My brother was only 6 when I left. And I used to put chocolate bars underneath his pillow, and he remembers that today even.
Sure.
Yeah, those were nice days, happy days, and
I've got to say that you are still beloved by so many people.
I know. It's true.
yes,
widely.